Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose. And just when you thought the Game Awards couldn't be any more controversial, I mean, they already got their nominees out, and they can just kind of look into the rearview mirror and let this show continue on, but that's not really what happened here. Instead, Geoff Keighley responded to the online criticism, valid criticism, I might say, and ironically enough, him and his show only faces more criticism now because one key thing that he said makes zero, and I mean 0 sense at all. I have a major problem with this, and we will get into all of that today. Then also, a big Sony game announced a delay, and while I think this was kind of expected already, there was, however, a little bit of pushback on this initially, and this could affect Sony in one specific category, so we will make sure to talk about that as well. But enough with the intro. Let's just go jump right into things because we have a lot to talk about today, including the Silent Hill 2 remake. It wasn't all that long ago when Silent Hill 2 was updated on Steam, including its achievements. This happened back in October, so everybody kind of looked at that as a sign that an announcement for its release date might be incoming. And when you look around, the Game Awards seems like the most likely place for a reveal like that. Well, we might want to go and pump our brakes on that for just a moment because Bloober Team put out a very strange statement, and we can read it here. It says, as Bloober Team, we are proud to be a part of Konami's plans for the Silent Hill franchise. Alongside our partner, we are diligently working to ensure the Silent Hill 2 remake retains the highest quality. On behalf of our development team, we would like to clarify that the production is progressing smoothly and in accordance with our schedule. We understand that many players around the world are eagerly anticipating news about the game, and we appreciate your dedication. However, we kindly ask for a bit more patience. Once Konami, as the game's publisher, shares more information, we are confident that the wait will be worthwhile. Thank you for your understanding and support, Bloober Team. So, this statement really tells me two different things. One is that they are aware of the rumors that we were just talking about a moment ago, and they're essentially saying, don't expect Silent Hill to be at the Game Awards. Now, however, they are progressing according to plan, which that is good to hear. But the other part to this statement is kind of fascinating to me. They're more or less pointing the finger at Konami. Don't blame us for not being at the Game Awards this year. Blame Konami because they control when they can give an update. Now, I gotta be honest with you all here. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing to throw your publisher under the bus like that. But at the same time, you know, for us fans, it does set expectations a little bit more properly. Now Silent Hill fans can go into the Game Awards this year and not be disappointed when it doesn't show up. I think by this point, though, if I were to make a prediction, I'm thinking that Konami will reveal more information in early 2024 at some point. Now, speaking of weird situations, fans started to notice something a little bit strange about Assassin's Creed last week. Apparently, an advertisement was popping up while playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. When players would try to view their in-game map, they were instead first greeted with an ad by saying, hey, Assassin's Creed Mirage is out and ready to go. Maybe you want to go ahead and purchase that game. So fans, they saw that advertisement and they quickly took to online to complain about the situation. And this is where things was a little bit more mind-blowing. Ubisoft actually responded and had the audacity of saying that this ad was because of a technical error, and it was never meant to happen. Yeah, right. It was all an accident. Nothing to see here, right? That is just so ridiculous to me. To give this bold-faced lie when it's clear as day that they were testing the waters to see how the community would react. Let me ask you this. If the players don't react negatively, do you think that they're really going to come out with this statement? Or instead, do you think that they would have continued to push this advertisement out knowingly? I think we all kind of know the answer to that question. But instead, they received this backlash, and Ubisoft tried to cover their ground with an excuse that it was all just a simple accident. Come on. I'm not buying that, and neither is anybody else. I mean, are they really going to treat us like we're clueless? I mean, I guess they are because that's what they're doing. But yeah, they were definitely testing the waters here to see if they could get away with ads in a full-sized AAA game. Let me know what you all think about this situation, though. Do you have a problem with this type of ad, or do you see this as no big deal? Okay, so let's go and talk about the Game Awards, shall we? I think every single year, the Game Awards is controversial to at least some degree. You're never going to make everybody happy because somebody will always be frustrated that their favorite game didn't get nominated for one category or another. That's to be expected because it's an impossible task. But this year has been on a whole other echelon when it comes to controversy. There has been some valid criticism this year. There are some legitimate eyebrow-raising decisions, and now I'm not going to go into all of those just because we've discussed it in other videos already, and you may have a differing opinion on some of those issues. That's no problem at all. But there's one very specific category that has a clear-cut flaw, and I think most people would agree with this. Their independent category that includes Dave the Diver. Now, Dave the Diver is a fine game. Nobody has a problem with the game itself because it's very fun. It probably deserves some type of nomination, maybe not for Best Independent Game, but if it got nominated somewhere else, then I don't think anybody would have had an issue. So no, the quality of Dave the Diver is not the issue that the community has raised. The problem here is that Dave the Diver is not actually an independent game. Instead, Dave the Diver comes from a major publisher being Nexon, and even they themselves have came out and said that this is not an independent game. Yeah, it might look like one if you're just basing it off its art design, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's an actual independent game. And that's the problem that the community has raised. It has the backing of a major, and I mean a major publisher worth a lot of money. So by having that backing of a major publisher with that type of money funding it, it's not hard to understand that they might have an advantage over an actual independent studio, a team that maybe had to completely rely on themselves with a small group of people. Well, Geoff Keighley was asked about this situation and his thoughts on the nomination, and this is his response. Look, it's a great question. Independent can mean different things to different people, and it's sort of a broad term. You can argue, does independent mean the budget of a game? Does independent mean where the source of financing was? Does it mean the team size? Is it the kind of independent spirit of the game, meaning a smaller game that's sort of different? I think everyone has their own opinion about this, and we really defer to our jury of 120 global media outlets who vote on these awards to make that determination of is something independent or not. Like, have you got to be joking here? He had weeks to come up with a response to this situation, and he comes back with independent games are a broad term. I don't know about that. It seems pretty direct to me. I don't know what kind of dictionary old Geoff Keighley is using here, but it seems pretty direct to me. If you look at the definition of what independent means, it states free from outside control, not depending on another's authority. It seems, or at least to me and apparently to a lot of other people, this is pretty straightforward. Now, again, I don't know what kind of dictionary he's reading here, but he needs to show us because this makes absolutely zero sense whatsoever. More so, and this has already happened a few different times, but I don't like that he keeps deflecting the blame to the 120 global media outlets who voted. At the end of the day, Geoff is hosting the Game Awards, and he plays a significant part in putting it together. So he must take at least some accountability for the numerous issues that people have raised. These are valid issues, so stop deflecting to a bunch of anonymous voters. You're the face of the Game Awards, and as a leader, maybe, just maybe, correct the problem, or at the bare minimum, acknowledge that there could possibly be an issue. Now, I understand that it might be easier to point the finger, but you're going to get a lot more respect by taking some accountability. I mean, you see this type of thing all the time in professional sports. The most respected players are the ones that takes accountability. And at times, they even take the blame if it's not entirely their fault in the first place. If you ask a professional quarterback why they lost the game, 9 times out of 10, they're going to come back and say, it starts with me. I need to do better. I need to clean things up. But when you have a quarterback that points the finger, they lose the fan base, and they lose the locker room. Now, I'm just trying to explain things a little bit here, but back to Dave the Diver, though. What I believe happened here is that some of these outlets just didn't realize that it's not an independent game, so they voted for it. It's really as simple as that. They looked at the art style, and they assumed that it was an independent game. Now, that might not be a great look for the Game Awards, and some might even claim that it makes the voters look a little bit clueless, but that's probably what happened here, and it's an honest mistake. And he could have easily come out and said, "Our mistake, we won't let it happen again." But that's not what he did. Instead, it sounds like he would rather deflect and make an excuse by essentially saying the independent category is based on how they look and not what they actually are. Which, again, could be a little bit unfair to actual independent developers. Let's talk about that for a moment, though, and how games look at first glance. Back in 2020, Xbox and Moon Studios partnered up to make the excellent Ori and the Will of the Wisps. This is one of the all-time great Metroidvanias. I think most people will kind of agree with that. But, the thing about this game is that it might first look like an independent game. It is actually being handled by an independent studio, but they did have the backing of a major publisher in Microsoft worth billions and billions of dollars. So Ori didn't qualify as an independent game, and you can see that from their nominations. In 2020, here were the nominees. You had Carry On, Fall Guys, Hades, Spelunky 2, and Spiritfarer. Now, if we're just talking about quality and how a game looks, Ori probably should have been on this list. But we all knew that it was published and owned by Xbox, and that's why it didn't get nominated, because it's not actually an independent game in the same way. Now, I didn't have a problem with that, but now here we are 3 years later, and we're seeing a very different result with Dave the Diver. Now, why is that? Now, again, I'm thinking it's because a lot of these outlets just simply didn't know that Dave the Diver was published by Nexon, and I think that that's okay to admit. Not everybody knew that because Nexon's not going to get as much attention as an Xbox-published game with all the advertising, but for whatever reason, Geoff just can't admit that they might have made a mistake, and I think it only makes his showcase look even worse than what it already does. I mean, this is a valid criticism raised by the community, and it's okay to admit that. But instead, I think that this brings up even more questions for his voters, for his showcase, and to him, because not only has he allowed this to happen, but he's also chosen to double down and fully commit to this stumble instead of acknowledging it. The absolute zero accountability tells us that he doesn't care, and he just wants to attempt to make an excuse to defend his showcase's reputation. I mean, it is what it is, but I think that this year and some of the decisions that they've made and some of the responses after those decisions brings a lot of legitimate concerns for how this so-called prestigious showcase handles its awards. It's not perfect, and it's all the more reason that I continue to say the Game Awards is not the be-all, end-all award event. It's just one of many, many opinions. Okay, now we do have one other topic to go over, though, and this is a pretty big delay for a now Sony-owned game being Destiny 2. Last month, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier reported the next DLC expansion, The Final Shape, has been internally delayed by Bungie, and some of the response online was a little bizarre at the time. There was a lot of pushback from some fans out there claiming that Jason was wrong, because Bungie didn't immediately announce the delay right after the leak. And I don't really understand that pushback. Whether you like Jason or not, I don't always agree with his opinions, but he is a good reporter that has legitimate sources. When he reveals things like this, he's putting his reputation on the line, and more than likely, it's probably going to be true, which has been proven yet again here. Bungie themselves have now confirmed that Destiny 2, The Final Shape, has officially been delayed to June 4th of 2024. Now, that's not a huge delay, and as I've said 1,000 times on this channel, it'll more than likely be for the best, because it does assure that they're putting quality first rather than, rushing the game out to meet an internal deadline. So I'm not really somebody who freaks out over delays. I'll leave that to other people. If they want to make a video and act like that this is world ending, they're absolutely free to do that. But for me, if Bungie believes that this is the best thing for the game, then I'm going to believe them. They are the developers, and there must be problems or else they wouldn't have delayed it. So just go ahead and be patient because this will result in a better overall end product. But there is another side to this situation that we do need to kind of cover here. It has been pointed out that this expansion is being pushed to Sony's next fiscal year. So this will impact Sony's short-term financial results. So in that way, it's probably not going to be a good look for Sony's immediate future. But outside of that, this isn't really a big problem unless the final shape still doesn't meet expectations. Now, we'll kind of see how that works out because this expansion is pretty important, I'd say, for Destiny 2's future, especially after some of the issues that they've been facing this year. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all, do you think Xbox and Nintendo will partner up to release more rare games for Nintendo Switch Online's subscription service? And the vast majority of you all voted yes, and I absolutely agree with you all here. I mean, if we look at what they've done so far, they've already partnered up on 3 games, including GoldenEye 007, Banjo & Kazooie, and now Jet Force Gemini. So I'm not really expecting that to slow down at all. Nintendo and Xbox has a very good relationship with one another, and Rare was a very important part of Nintendo's history. So yeah, of course, they're going to want those games for their Switch Online service to sell more subscriptions. And Xbox, they benefit here as well because not only can they make some extra money by allowing these games on Nintendo Switch Online, but it also gives these dormant IP more brand recognition. So hypothetically, let's say if Xbox decides to ever release another Banjo game, I mean, please, come on, Xbox. How this hasn't happened already, you know what? For a different video, I'm going to let this slide for right now. We've waited long enough. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, it will expose these brands to even more players by putting them on Nintendo Switch Online. And that's only a good thing for these games and for Xbox. So I think this partnership is a win-win situation for both Nintendo and Xbox. I absolutely expect more Rare games on Nintendo Switch Online, which could include games like Killer Instinct, you have Perfect Dark, or hey, maybe even something like Conquer. For that matter, a new Perfect Dark is in development, and by exposing the original to Switch Online subscribers, that could attract even more attention to the next release. It's essentially free advertisement. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.